The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who knows the least. It is the one who is the most intelligent. And here is why intelligent people do not make bad decisions because they lack information. They make the worst decisions precisely because of how much they know. Because the subconscious mind of a highly intelligent person has access to something that most people do not. An extraordinary ability to construct airtight, completely convincing, internally consistent justifications for whatever the subconscious has already decided to do. You have experienced this. You are intelligent enough to know it. The decision that looked completely rational as you were making it, that you could defend from multiple angles, that had a logical structure that seemed unassailable, that turned out to be exactly wrong in exactly the way your gut was telling you it would be, before the intelligence stepped in and overrode the warning. The intelligent person does not make worse decisions because their thinking is flawed. They make worse decisions because their thinking is too good enough to defeat every conscious objection the mind raises against what the subconscious has already decided. Good enough to construct a case so convincing that even the person making the decision believes it is rational. Well, it is not rational at all. It is subconscious. And the subconscious, as we have established throughout this channel, does not make decisions based on what is genuinely best for you. It makes decisions based on what is familiar, what is safe, what matches the programs installed before you were old enough to evaluate any of them. Your intelligence is not protecting you from your subconscious programs. It is serving them. It is the most sophisticated defense attorney your subconscious programs have ever had, and it has never lost a case. To understand why intelligence amplifies rather than prevents subconscious decision-making traps, we need to understand a specific neurological phenomenon that researchers have documented with remarkable consistency. It is called motivated reasoning, and it is the process through which the brain constructs logical arguments in support of conclusions that have already been reached. Through emotional and subconscious processes, long before the reasoning began. Here is how it works. When your subconscious encounters a situation, it does not wait for the conscious mind to evaluate it. It responds first automatically, based on the programs installed through years of experience and conditioning. It generates an initial response, an emotional orientation toward or away from the situation, a felt sense of what it wants to do before a single conscious thought has formed. Then, and this is the critical part, the conscious mind receives this subconscious conclusion and begins to build a rational case for it, not to evaluate whether the conclusion is correct, to justify it, to construct the reasoning that will make the already reached subconscious conclusion feel like a rational decision. This process happens in every human being. But here is what the research on intelligence reveals. The more intelligent the person, the more sophisticated and convincing the motivated reasoning they generate. A person of average intelligence constructing a justification for a subconscious decision produces a simple argument that others can often see through. A highly intelligent person constructing a justification for the same subconscious decision produces a multi-layered, internally consistent, genuinely difficult to counter argument that convinces not just other people, but the intelligent person themselves. The intelligence does not prevent the subconscious from driving the decision. It makes the subconscious's defense of that decision impenetrable. Psychologists call this the intelligence trap, the phenomenon by which the very cognitive tools that should help us make better decisions are being deployed instead in service of the subconscious programs that prevent us from making genuinely better decisions. The more brilliant the mind, the more elaborate the cage it builds around itself. Let me show you exactly how this works in practice, because the recognition of this pattern in your own life is one of the most valuable and most uncomfortable experiences available to a genuinely intelligent person. The intelligent person with an unworthiness program The deep subconscious belief that they do not fundamentally deserve great success does not experience this program as a belief. They experience it as a carefully reasoned assessment of their situation. I am not ready yet. I need more preparation. The market is not right at this moment. There are specific risks that need to be addressed before moving forward. The timing could be better. I want to be sure before I commit. Each of these statements sounds reasonable. Each of them could be true in specific circumstances, and the intelligent person can defend each of them with sophisticated analysis. But the subconscious truth beneath all of them is simpler and more painful than any of the intellectual arguments. I do not believe I deserve this level of success. And I am using every cognitive resource available to me to construct reasons why not pursuing it is the intelligent choice. The intelligent person with a belonging preservation program. The deep subconscious fear that exceeding their family or community's current range will cost them connection does not experience this program as a fear. They experience it as a principled concern about values. I do not want to become someone who is only motivated by money. Success can change people in ways that are not always positive. I value relationships more than achievement. There is something important about staying connected to where I came from. Again, each of these statements contains genuine wisdom. Each of them could reflect real values, and the intelligent person can construct a philosophical framework around them that sounds deeply considered. But the subconscious truth beneath them is simpler. I am afraid that if I succeed beyond the familiar range, I will lose the people I love. And I'm using my intelligence to make that fear look like a value. There are 4 specific types of decisions where the intelligence trap most consistently produces the worst outcomes. 4 domains where the sophisticated mind is most reliably working against its owner's genuine interests. The first is relationship decisions. Intelligent people are extraordinarily skilled at constructing rational frameworks for staying in relationships that are not serving them, and for leaving relationships that genuinely could. The subconscious program that says familiar pain is safer than unfamiliar love generates the most sophisticated analysis of why this difficult relationship deserves more time, more patience, more effort, more benefit of the doubt, while simultaneously generating the most airtight case for why the genuinely available good relationship has specific problems that need to be resolved before commitment is possible. The intelligent person does not make these decisions from obvious fear. They make them from what appears to be careful consideration, from what feels like wisdom and discernment, but the outcome is always the same, the familiar, even when it hurts, over the genuinely available good. The second domain is financial decisions. The intelligence trap in finances produces a specific and devastating pattern. The intelligent person who carries a scarcity program will construct the most sophisticated risk analyses for why financial opportunities should not be pursued, the most detailed assessments of why now is not the right time, the most convincing frameworks for why the current level of financial engagement is responsible and appropriate, while the genuine opportunity either passes or is taken by someone less intelligent who did not stop to analyze it to death. The third domain is creative and professional decisions. The intelligent person with a fear of genuine expression will produce the most compelling intellectual case for why the work is not yet ready, why the timing is not right, why the approach needs more refinement, why sharing the genuine creation at this stage of its development would be premature. The intelligence becomes the gatekeeper that ensures the genuine work is never quite finished, never quite ready, never quite enough to risk being seen. The fourth domain is the decision about personal change itself. The intelligent person who carries programs that do not serve them is often the most skilled at constructing intellectual frameworks that explain why subconscious reprogramming is not for them, why their case is different, why the neuroscience does not apply in the same way to someone with their particular history and their particular psychology. The intelligence defends the program from the very work that would dissolve it. The greatest thinkers in human history have recognized this trap and have pointed toward it in the language of their own traditions and their own times. Blaise Pascal, the 17th century French mathematician and philosopher, one of the most brilliant minds of his or any era, wrote something that has never been more true than it is in the age of sophisticated self-justification. The heart has its reasons which reason does not know. He understood that the deepest motivations of human behavior arise not from the rational mind, but from something beneath it, from what we would now call the subconscious. And that the rational mind's most characteristic activity is the construction of reasons for what the heart has already decided. Bertrand Russell, the 20th century British philosopher and mathematician who spent his career celebrating the power of rational thought, said something that surprised many of his admirers. Most people would rather die than think, and in fact they do. His observation was that genuine thinking, the kind that questions the premises rather than building elaborate structures on top of them, is extraordinarily rare, even among the most intellectually sophisticated people, because genuine thinking requires the willingness to discover that the conclusions you have been defending are not conclusions at all. They are subconscious programs wearing the clothing of reasoned positions. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist whose research on human decision-making has transformed our understanding of the gap between how we think we reason and how we actually reason, documented with devastating precision that human beings across every level of intelligence are consistently subject to the same cognitive biases, the same systematic errors in thinking that arise from the same subconscious processes, and that higher intelligence does not reduce susceptibility to these biases. In many cases, it increases it, because the more intelligent person is more capable of constructing post hoc rationalizations that conceal the bias even from themselves. How do you recognize when your intelligence is serving your subconscious programs rather than your genuine interests? This is the most practically important question in this entire video, and the answer requires a specific kind of honest attention that is genuinely difficult for highly intelligent people to practice, because it requires the suspension of the very cognitive tool they most rely on. The first signal that your intelligence is serving a subconscious program rather than your genuine interests is the quality of the certainty that accompanies the reasoning. Genuine rational analysis produces conclusions that are held with appropriate uncertainty, with recognition that the analysis could be incomplete or the information could change. Motivated reasoning produces conclusions that are held with a quality of certainty that is disproportionate to the actual evidence. That feels strangely resistant to genuine counter-argument. That generates a specific emotional discomfort when challenged that is more intense than the intellectual disagreement would warrant. When you notice that quality of defended certainty, that specific resistance to information that challenges your current position, that is almost always the sign that the subconscious is using the intelligence to protect a program rather than to genuinely evaluate a question. The second signal is the pattern of conclusions. If your sophisticated analysis consistently produces conclusions that align with what your subconscious programs would prefer, if the risks are always greater when the opportunity challenges the program and smaller when it confirms it, if the timing is always slightly wrong when the decision would require genuine expansion and perfectly right when it allows comfortable maintenance of the familiar, the intelligence is not producing genuine analysis. It is producing subconscious service dressed as rational thought. The third signal is the relationship between the quality of the argument and the quality of the outcome. If you are genuinely intelligent and your intelligence is genuinely serving your interests, the outcomes of your carefully reasoned decisions should be better than average. If you are genuinely intelligent and your outcomes are consistently not better than average, consistently falling short in the specific areas where your subconscious programs are most active, the intelligence is not the driver of the decisions. The programs are. And the intelligence is the most sophisticated camouflage those programs have ever had. There is a specific and painful irony at the heart of the intelligence trap. The very quality that makes the subconscious programs harder to see also makes the work of updating them more difficult. And understanding this irony is essential for the highly intelligent person who wants to do genuine subconscious work rather than simply adding another layer of sophisticated analysis on top of unchanged programs. The difficulty arises from what might be called intellectual resistance. The highly intelligent person encounters the idea of subconscious reprogramming. They understand it cognitively. They can explain the neuroscience accurately. They can articulate the mechanism with precision. They can even identify the specific programs they are running and trace them back to their childhood origins with remarkable insight. And then they continue to run the programs, because understanding a program is not the same as dissolving it. And the intelligence that allows for such rapid and sophisticated understanding can also generate an equally rapid and sophisticated set of reasons why the actual practice of subconscious reprogramming is unnecessary or oversimplified, or not quite applicable to their specific case. The intelligent person says, "I understand why people need these practices. My situation is slightly different because I have already analyzed these patterns extensively." The analysis itself is the work. This is perhaps the most dangerous form of the intelligence trap of all. The belief that cognitive understanding of subconscious programs is equivalent to the subconscious work of updating them. It is not. The subconscious does not update through understanding. It updates through felt experience, through the specific combination of theta-state receptivity and genuine emotional engagement that we have explored throughout this channel. No amount of cognitive sophistication substitutes for the daily practice of that felt experience. Not because the practice is more intelligent than the understanding, but because the practice is directed at the level where the programs actually live, the subconscious, where understanding, however sophisticated, cannot reach. Now, let me give you the specific protocol for the highly intelligent person who wants to genuinely escape the intelligence trap. A protocol that works with the intelligence rather than against it, while ensuring that the intelligence does not continue to defend the subconscious programs it has been serving. The first element is what I call the conclusion audit. Every significant decision you make, before you act on it, you subject to one specific question. Not is this reasoning correct? The intelligence can always produce a satisfying answer to that question, but rather, which of my subconscious programs would most benefit from this decision? If the decision maintains the familiar, avoids genuine expansion, protects you from the vulnerability of genuine commitment or genuine expression or genuine financial risk, which program does it serve? Scarcity, unworthiness, belonging preservation, fear of genuine expression. The question is not asked in order to automatically reverse the decision. Sometimes the genuinely correct decision and the subconscious program's preferred decision are the same. The question is asked in order to introduce transparency, to ensure that the intelligence is evaluating the decision rather than defending it. The second element is the body audit. Before committing to any significant decision, you check in with the body rather than the mind, not with vague intuition, but with a specific practice. Sit quietly for 3 minutes, bring the decision fully to your awareness, and then simply observe what happens in the body, not what the mind says about the body's response. What the body itself does? Does the chest open or contract? Does the breath deepen or shallow? Does a quality of genuine aliveness arise? Or a quality of relief that is more like the release of tension than the presence of genuine excitement? The body is the subconscious's most honest communication channel. It does not have access to the intelligence's sophisticated justification system. It simply responds. And its response? Observed without the mind's immediate interpretation of what the response means, is often the most accurate available information about what the subconscious is actually doing beneath the intelligent reasoning. The third element of the protocol is the theta practice specifically adapted for highly intelligent people. Because the standard approach to subconscious reprogramming, the simple repetition of bridging statements in the theta window, often fails for intelligent people in a specific and predictable way. The analytical mind, even in the theta state, generates commentary. It evaluates the statements. It notes inconsistencies between the statement and the current reality. It produces alternative framings. It analyzes the practice itself rather than simply being in the practice. This is not a failure of the practice. It is the intelligence doing what intelligence does, evaluating everything it encounters. The adapted approach begins by giving the intelligence something to do that is not commentary on the practice itself. Before entering the bridging statements, you spend 5 minutes in genuine intellectual engagement with the neuroscience of what you are about to do, not as a substitute for the practice, but as a way of satisfying the intelligence's need for engagement before asking it to step back. You review, briefly, the specific mechanism through which the theta state allows subconscious access, the specific way in which emotional charge combined with repeated exposure creates new neural pathways, the specific research that supports what you are about to do, and then, having given the intelligence this engagement, you ask it for something it finds genuinely difficult but that the practice requires suspension, not permanent suspension, not the abandonment of critical thinking. Simply the specific suspension of commentary for the duration of the 10-minute practice that follows. You say to your intelligence, I know you will evaluate this later. I know you will have observations and questions and refinements. That is welcome. But for these 10 minutes, simply observe without commentary, and then you enter the theta practice, the bridging statements, the emotional engagement, the felt experience of the new program. And you practice with whatever degree of the intelligence's cooperation is available today, trusting that the consistency of the practice will produce results that the intelligence itself will eventually find convincing. There is a quality that is both the hardest and the most essential for the highly intelligent person doing genuine subconscious work: intellectual humility, not the performance of humility. Not the strategic acknowledgement of limitations that is really a more sophisticated form of demonstrating intelligence, but genuine, uncomfortable, specific humility about the limits of what intelligence can access about the actual drivers of one's own behavior. The Socratic tradition of philosophy begins with what is perhaps the most important intellectual insight in the history of human thought. I know that I know nothing. Socrates, considered by many the wisest person of his era, built his entire philosophical method on the recognition that genuine wisdom begins with the honest acknowledgement of the limits of one's own knowledge. And the most important limits of knowledge, for the person genuinely trying to live well, are the limits of self-knowledge. The highly intelligent person knows an enormous amount about the external world, about their field, about ideas and systems and the way things work, and they know far less than they believe about the specific subconscious, programs that are driving their most important decisions. The gap between what the intelligent person believes they know about their own motivations and what is actually true about their own motivations is often larger rather than smaller than the equivalent gap in less analytical people, because the intelligence has been building such convincing stories about the motivations for so long that even the person whose intelligence generated those stories believes them. Genuine intellectual humility in the context of subconscious work looks like this. I am intelligent enough to know that my intelligence is not a reliable guide to my subconscious motivations. I can analyze external reality with considerable accuracy. I cannot analyze my own subconscious with the same accuracy. because the very tool I'm using to analyze it is the tool most deeply implicated in its concealment, and therefore, I am willing to use methods that bypass the intelligence, that speak directly to the subconscious through felt experience in the theta state, even when the intelligence generates arguments against the necessity of those methods. History offers us some of the most instructive examples of extraordinarily intelligent people who recognized the intelligence trap and found ways to work with rather than through their analytical minds. Albert Einstein, whose name has become synonymous with exceptional intelligence, was one of the most articulate critics of the limits of purely rational thought. He said repeatedly and in multiple formulations that imagination is more important than knowledge, that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind a faithful servant, and that we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Einstein was pointing toward exactly the intelligence trap we have been discussing. He understood from his own extraordinary experience that the greatest insights, the ones that genuinely moved human understanding forward, did not come from the analytical mind's careful reasoning. They came from somewhere beneath it, from the subconscious's capacity for pattern recognition and intuitive synthesis that the analytical mind could then verify but could not have produced on its own. He famously arrived at the theory of relativity through a daydream, a felt sense of what it would be like to ride alongside a beam of light. The subconscious spoke first. The intelligence then built the mathematics that confirmed what the subconscious had already understood. Steve Jobs, whose intelligence was combined with a specific and deliberate practice of accessing what he called his intuition, built one of the most successful companies in human history by consistently refusing to let the analytical mind have the final word. He spoke about the importance of not letting the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And he described his most important business decisions as arising not from analytical reasoning, but from a quality of knowing that preceded and often contradicted the analysis. He was describing the subconscious speaking with enough clarity that the intelligence could no longer override it. Not because the intelligence was absent, but because it had been trained through deliberate practice to listen rather than immediately dominate. I want to describe what becomes possible when the intelligence and the subconscious are finally working together rather than the intelligence working in service of the subconscious's programs while believing it is working in service of genuine reasoning. The first thing that becomes possible is genuine discernment. The specific quality of knowing that arises when the analytical mind's capacity for evaluation is applied to conclusions that are arriving from a genuinely updated subconscious, rather than from programs installed before the analytical mind existed. When the subconscious is running programs of genuine worth and genuine possibility, the intelligence that builds on those programs produces genuinely wise decisions. Not because the intelligence has changed, but because what is serving has changed. The second thing that becomes possible is the integration of thinking and feeling. The highly intelligent person who has been trapped by the intelligence trap has typically developed an over-reliance on thinking and an undervaluing of feeling, not because feeling is unreliable, but because the subconscious programs they have been trying not to feel have made the full experience of feeling uncomfortable. When the programs are updated, when the subconscious is no longer running the emotional weather that the intelligence was deployed to manage and conceal, thinking and feeling become genuinely integrated. The analysis and the intuition begin to speak the same language, and the decisions that arise from that integration are of a quality that neither the intelligence alone nor the intuition alone could have produced. The third thing that becomes possible is genuine creativity. The intelligence trap suppresses creativity in a specific way. It generates the endless analysis of the creative idea that prevents the creative act. When the subconscious programs that made genuine expression feel dangerous are updated, The intelligence stops defending against the creative impulse and begins serving it, building the structure that allows the genuinely creative insight to become genuinely expressed work, rather than building the case for why the work is not yet ready to exist. Let us return to where we began. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who knows the least. It is the one who is the most intelligent, not because intelligence is dangerous in itself, but because intelligence in the service of unexamined subconscious programs is the most sophisticated obstacle to genuine change that a human being can construct. The subconscious program with an average intelligence defending it produces visible and relatively transparent rationalizations that can be challenged and seen through. The subconscious program with a brilliant intelligence defending it produces arguments so sophisticated, so internally consistent, so genuinely difficult to counter, that they convince not just others, but the intelligent person themselves, that the timing is not right, that the risk is too great, that they are not ready, that this particular opportunity has specific problems that make it different from the apparently similar opportunities that worked for other people, that the relationship has genuine incompatibilities that careful analysis has revealed, that the work is not yet ready to be seen. That subconscious reprogramming is an interesting framework that applies to other people, but whose necessity in their particular case is not yet established. Each of these conclusions is the intelligence at its most brilliant, and the subconscious program at its most protected. The escape from the intelligence trap does not require becoming less intelligent. It requires becoming more honest about what the intelligence is actually doing. The conclusion audit that reveals which program the reasoning is serving, the body audit that bypasses the intelligence's commentary to access the subconscious's most honest communication, the theta practice adapted for the analytical mind that gives the intelligence engagement before asking for suspension, and the intellectual humility that recognizes the intelligence's most important limitation, its inability to see clearly what it is most invested in concealing. Your intelligence is extraordinary. It deserves something better than being deployed in service of 6-year-old programs that were installed before it existed. It deserves to work in genuine partnership with a subconscious that has been updated to match its capacity. And that partnership, the genuine integration of your intelligence and your genuinely updated subconscious, is the most powerful decision-making system available to a human being. Subscribe to Awake Mind. I will see you in the next one.